Okay, thank you. Is someone hosting, or shall I introduce myself maybe and go ahead? I will do it this way. Okay. So I am Ariadne Argyraki. I happen to be the president of SEGHlive. So first I will make a small introduction of myself. I am Greek. I was born in Athens, and I am a geologist. So I finished the university in Athens, got my first degree in geology, and then went on and did my PhD in environmental geochemistry in Imperial College London. And this is when I first joined SEGH. I'm very happy that Mike Ramsey, my supervisor, is here with us today. It's quite moving, actually. Thank you, Mike, for joining in. So this is when I first joined SEGH back in the day. And since then, I have been attending the conferences of SEGH, and I've been a member for most of the time. Another milestone for me and SEGH was 2008, when together with Alekos Dimitriadis, we organized the conference, the annual conference of SEGH in Athens. This was the first one in Greece. And then again, some years later, last year, 2023, I organized it again in our department. So a long history, a long way. I feel I'm proud that I'm a member of SEGH for so long. And maybe I think this commitment is why I happen to be the president at the moment. So welcome all. Today I am going to talk to you about a project a research project that I am involved in here in Athens. So I'll try to share the screen. Let's see. If I find the buttons here, sorry about this. No, you're still seeing the penguin? Try again.
Yeah, we could just see the desktop.
Sorry. I'll share the application and see what happens. How about?
Yeah, we can see your slides now.
Okay. Okay. So the title is Environmental Research and Citizen Science. How we go about doing research by involving volunteers, citizen volunteers. And I will provide the example of the nexus-monARC project. I should say that I am the coordinator of this project, but I have brought lots of material from our postdoc, Andreas Godikas, who is the architect of the project, really, and the project manager. So the contents are here. I will start with a short introduction, first to the Hellenic Volcanic Arc, because this is where our research takes place, and say some things about the environmental research done in the Hellenic Volcanic Arc, and then move on and say a few things about the nexus-monARC project, and then how we go about bringing in the citizen science in the project, how we go about and develop tools and techniques for data collection through the citizen science, and finish with some conclusions. So here is a little video. I don't know if it will move. Okay, move somehow, and it will take us to where the Hellenic Volcanic Arc is. You see here the Hellenic Arc and the trends, and then you see that here we have something like a back arc basin. It disappeared, but maybe you had the chance to see. Here are the places we are focusing in. So we have the Methana Peninsula, and people that had joined our conference last July had the opportunity to visit this peninsula and climb some of the domes that appear there. Actually, this is the far western part of the arc, and contains the oldest volcanoes. And then we have Milos Island, which is more active. So we have quite a few hydrothermal fields and a shallow hydrothermal high enthalpy area. Many people know Milos because it also has the biggest open pit mine for bentonite. But also there is quite a lot of hydrothermal springs going on. Santorini, of course, everybody knows Santorini and the caldera inside Santorini. But also there is a submarine volcano discovered in 2006 outside the caldera of Santorini, and this is one of the areas of interest. And then in the eastern part of the arc, there is Nisiros, a round little island, and you see here the crater in the middle. So all these are, these three are quite active as volcanoes. Methana is in the post, it's not so active anymore. See if I can change. Okay, I will provide some examples of how these places are traditionally been studied. So basically it's the traditional oceanographic surveys that are done, and there are quite a lot of these surveys going on for some time now. There are lots and lots of data accumulating, and this is the proper oceanographic vessel that comes. Usually there are vessels from abroad, although the Greek Marine Center, the National Greek Marine Center, owns a vessel, also the Aegean vessel. But these are examples of two recent surveys. So there is the Meteor that came to Milos earlier this year. And this has very special equipment on it to collect samples, seawater sample, but also sediment samples with robotic systems and everything. And then also in Santorini last year, we had JOIDES resolution coming in through the IODP Expedition 398, and they drilled quite a lot of, in quite a lot of places, lots and lots of kilometers of cores they collected that they are currently processed to provide high quality data. Environmental data, but mostly geological data. And most of these surveys are focused, and the interest is on the natural hazard because we are on a volcanic arc and there is an active volcanic arc here. And so there is always the chance of having unrests like we did in 2013 in Santorini, and people want to know how to predict and to protect people. I will give you now some a flavor of the data that have been collected previously. We know quite a lot about the geochemistry of these places, and these are actually the natural pressures in the area. So from an environmental point of view, it's very interesting to see what kind and what levels of elemental concentrations we are observing and measuring in these places. These are normalized graphs against the upper continental crust, and you see that there is quite a lot of enrichment. Here, for example, here are data from Milos, and you can see the very high enrichment of arsenic. The lines are different types of samples. There are sediments from different places around Milos, and also there are sediments from other places near Nisyros, etc. You can also see very high concentrations and enrichment against the upper continental crusts for lead, antimony, gold, silver, mercury, these elements, and these are data now from Santorini, this submarine volcano I mentioned before, the Kolubu volcano. And also here again, we see lead, arsenic, antimony, extremely enriched in these sediments and emanations. There are like black chimneys. They are not actually black chimneys. They are sulfide sediments, more like diffusers coming out from the crater. So we have extremely high potentially toxic elements going into the water, and this is not at all well studied yet. We also observe pH decrease, so this is also of environmental interest because of the ocean acidification, which is a global problem. So it's like having a natural laboratory in place to study this phenomena. Temperature increase, of course, and carbon dioxide emission. Most of the gases that have been sampled in these areas are pure carbon dioxide. The example from the Methana Natural Laboratory. Here the interest is exactly on these high concentrations of carbon dioxide coming out from the thermal springs. There was a last eruption, the latest eruption in 230 BC, and this is written in the historical archives, and so we know. But the interest nowadays, and it's Professor Triadafilou from our department that lately has done this study to see if these emissions of carbon dioxide have affected the coccolithophores and their cells or not. And what she found actually was that there was not a big variability in terms of the species that she found and collected around Methana. The spring that it's extremely rich in carbon dioxide is this one in the north of the island. And this is where we don't have at all sulfide. So sulfide concentrations there are below the detection limit actually. And it's pure carbon dioxide coming out. And also we have sampled the little the sediment that it is solidified and has paved the area around the spring, and it's pure aragonite when you do the XRD. So she found out that basically it's the species change with the seasons. So it's the temperature and other factors but she couldn't pick the, the signal from the carbon dioxide affecting the cells of the coccolithophores. So there are open problems and to solve yet. The next example is from Milos Island. So we have been studying these sediments. They are offshore Milos. These are in shallow water, and you can see maybe here the bubbles coming out. There are people swimming there, and you can see bacterial mats. So the whole sea bottom is covered by these bacterial mats, this white stuff here that gets to be orange, and then you get to normal sand. So a diver can collect these cores here with the different type of sediment, and then the pore water was analyzed in terms of potentially toxic elements. Arsenic is the main interest here. As I told you before, concentrations are quite high. But also the geobiologists that were leading this research, Chief Ru and other people that came from Sweden, wanted to know in terms of microbial species, how do they respond to arsenic and how do they respond also to the competition that exists between arsenic and phosphate. So these two elements, apparently, they are competitors in terms of feeding this microorganism. Okay, there are nutrients. The phosphate is the nutrient, but also arsenic is in competition. So there was this very good correlation between the two elements, and also in the end, you could see by doing a traverse from the white mats through to the brown ones, through to the clean sand. And then you could see how the geochemistry changes, and being from high in sulfide to low sulfide, and then from low iron oxyhydroxides, which collect the arsenic, and going towards the high iron oxyhydroxides with less arsenic resistance in them. So there is a whole biochemical system, a special one and a very specific one, growing in this type of environments. And this is also of great interest to know. Last example from Colombo, Santorini again. So the crater here, the bottom of the crater is on the depth of 500 meters. And in the corner of the crater is where we see these emanations, these chimneys growing, these sulfide edifices like these ones. Gas again is coming out, and it's mostly carbon dioxide again. And you see that these chimneys are covered by these orange precipitates. And the whole bottom, actually, the seafloor is covered by these orange oxides and iron hydroxides. So we came up with this model by combining again microbiological data and DNA data, environmental DNA data, with what was measured in the sediment. And we came up with this model that it is possible that the oxidizers there are these nitrifying archaea that the biologists have found out that they live there. And this is what they cause, how it is caused, the oxidation and the precipitation of this ferrihydrite type phase that covers the sea bottom. Again, you can see here how the pH drops. So there's a quite goes down around 5 here near to the, next to the emanations. So in terms of environmental pressure, these natural ones are not the only ones. In these places, we also have the industrial tourism going on. The population on these islands explodes in the tourist season. Also, we have intense exploitation of sea and the land natural resources on the islands. We have lots of solid waste from land going into the sea, lots of plastics, lots of additives. Also, we have the wastewater, sometimes rich in pharmaceuticals and pesticides, and also all the construction debris. So there is quite a lot of anthropogenic pressures and input. And you can imagine that the cocktail that is made of all these things together with the natural enrichment is a very interesting thing to study. And let's talk about shipping. Here is the map, here is Attica, the gray is the land, and then all these lines here are from this site, the marinetraffic.com. You can see how the boat traffic is going on. And actually, the area of the arc is here. We know that lots of stuff from the boats are getting into the sea. Lots of different chemicals are going into the sea, enriching this cocktail I talked about before. And the most interesting thing lately, and it's quite a lot of articles written on it, is this scrubber water. It's interesting because scrubber is this system developed to get rid of pollution in the air, but now it is getting into the sea, so it creates an additional problem. This is what is currently happening, and also we need to think about the future. So there are future activities that still are not happening, but in the near future, now people are talking about seafloor mining more and more. We know that these deposits are very rich in precious metals and critical raw materials. We know that there are plans to build a nuclear power plant in the in Turkish coast, and we know that there are plans to build more and more of these offshore wind farms to bring on the energy transition. So we are trying to use more and more renewable energy, but this also has a cost on the environment, of course. So this is where our project comes in, nexus-monARC. I mean, it comes into this situation I described. This is a European project. You can scan this and it will take you to the project's website. It involves Greece and partners, 2 partners from Greece, our university, and a small enterprise. And then we have a university from Germany, the Göteborg University, the University of Norway, and TNU, and VITO, the Environmental Research Institute from Belgium. Now, in the center of the project, the scientific work package we have is on seawater monitoring. And there are quite a lot of different things that the nexus-monARC tries to measure. So there are climate-related parameters we are checking. bioessential and toxic elements, particles, mineral particles, natural mineral particles, but also clearly anthropogenic plastic, microplastics and nanoplastics, organic pollutants, different types of organic pollutants, biodiversity and radioactivity. So you see that it is a multidisciplinary project. And the idea, how this comes together in terms of the partners and who is participating, this is a WIDERA twinning European program that has one country like Greece that works together with leading counterparts on the topic. So these different organizations are giving their input in order to improve, the Greek university can improve in terms of different things. So in the center and the core of the project is the capacity building, but in different scales. So these partners here help to build the capacity of all these different laboratories of the Greek university, but not only on a scientific level, but also on the administrative level, the laboratory capabilities, and the dissemination and communication, and the citizen science actions. Also, nexus-monARC collaborates with other projects that they are currently going on. The Ramon's project looks more specifically in natural radiogenic emanations and how we measure the natural radioactivity. The Santori project is focused in the submarine volcano of Colombo and tries to build an in situ observatory. It is more related to natural hazards. The Remedies project is a European project looking into plastic, and the Sailing for Science is an initiative, a United Nations initiative that does science through sailing. So this is clearly a citizen science side of things. And here is me trying to find my bearings within all this and coordinate the project on a sailing boat. So the idea about how we collect data, and this will bring us little by little to the citizen science part of the project, is that we don't use oceanographic vessels. We go with a soft approach. So we try to use sailing boats and see how much data and of what quality we can collect by these soft, let's say, tools. So we have these different and periodically happening scientific missions. These are pictures of the ones that we have already done. These are all pictures from Methana, actually, but we have also been as far as Milos. And now next week, they are going to Nisyros and Santorini. And we are sampling for all this catalog of different things. And because there are different laboratories involved, we try to set out and organize how all these samples are going to be analyzed by each one of them. Here are people doing also in situ measurements in the different places and the first stage of handling of the samples on board. And also we are using some groups, these are the partners from Norway and Sweden really, using in situ measurements and using portable sensors, and there is quite a lot of improvisation there also, because these people, they are putting together bits and pieces and try to calibrate in order to get the signal in situ by using these sensors that, of course, they have to be as accurate as possible and as sensitive as possible, and of course as waterproof as possible. Okay, let's now have a look at the citizen science part of our project. The SEGHlive community actually is accustomed to the citizen science, and the first citizen science project I was involved was the home biome run by Jane and Weasley. Actually, she has another fellow talk on this, and it's very useful to see that SEGH is getting into this new type of doing research, which is getting more and more, let's say, fashionable. But I think it's also making sense, empowering citizens, not only to collect data, it goes beyond this because it's on community involvement. It's not only for simple data collection, but also related to environmental advocacy. So when you work on research in the environment, this is, I think, very, very significant and important. You can build the knowledge base, you can expand the knowledge base, you can make science accessible to all people. So it works both ways. It's a win-win situation between scientists and citizens. It is elevating research and it is driving change. In our particular example and paradigm, the nexus-monARC, imagine these big vessels. They might carry all this high-tech equipment, but their accessibility to places, it is limited because most of the hot springs, for example, that we want to study are in these small gulfs near the coast that it is very, very difficult to get to with this heavy equipment. Internationally, this type of projects, citizen science projects, are growing. Here I found this reference. I didn't do a very in-depth search. It was the first one that came out, and it gives you the number of citizen science projects recently. And you see that in 1 year, for example, in Europe, there were 121 of them. And also the Nature has published actually how you go about doing this type of research in environmental and ecological sciences. So it is very, very relevant. Is it the right approach to do science? The first question that comes into our mind is, shall we trust it? In the nexus-monARC, we do it as an experiment. So we want to see if it is the right approach. And we try to follow these steps. The most challenging of them is, I think, this stage 4, building the community. From my experience, I'm talking. And again, managing the data. So these two, building the community, engaging people that they can provide trustful data, and then how you manage this data and how you give feedback back to them is the most challenging steps in doing citizen science. Let's have a look on things that we have been doing. So as I told you, our philosophy is we go in with these scientific missions. So we get people from our laboratories on the sailing boats, or some places we can visit by land, Methana, for example, and we test. So we did like a recce ourselves. And then we are going back to the laboratory and we are measuring things, and we know the range, and we take the accurate measurements, let's say. But then we would like to build some frugal tools that people can use easily. For example, this is a SEGHLive. It is used for to check the turbidity in water. This can be easily even made by school children. And the advantage of having such a simple tool for them is that you have it all the time at hand. These people are there all the time, so they can just throw a bucket into the water and collect the sample on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. And they can check the turbidity very, very often. They can even take a simple photograph and see if there are daily changes in the output of the hot spring in the water. So this is one type of and examples of frugal tools. We are still building the whole tool set, let's say. And then we have spotted this planktoscope. This is a modular open source hardware where you can buy these little bits and pieces and you can build yourself this platform that actually is like a custom-made microscope that you can do imaging on plankton samples, and you can use it and compare the biology and ecology in different areas. So we are trying to build one of these in the project and use it as a prototype, let's say, for the people that we're visiting, for the citizen science. And then if they want, they can do it themselves and use it in the future. We find this as a very good idea, and now we are in the process of building one of them in our laboratory. As I said, building the community is the most challenging thing. And the way we go about it is that we have set 3 different levels of involvement and expertise. So we have the entry level, and then some people, they upgrade into the enthusiast level and then go further on to the semi-pro level. How do we fish this citizen scientist? We try everything, try to communicate them from a distance or going them, having group discussions. So every time that we have the scientific missions, we allocate some time to try to meet in person as many people as possible from the local communities. We have designed a special questionnaire to find out what are their needs. Because if we just go and say to them, okay, we are looking into the environmental pressures in your area, and this doesn't make much sense for them. But if we ask them what does the good quality of seawater means to them, maybe then we can approach them better. And last week we've been to a science fair with our students who are really into it and enthusiastic, as you can imagine. And there, by talking and explaining to them and discussing with the people that were coming in our booths, things like, what do you think about deep sea mining? And how do you perceive the environmental pressure in the sea environment? And then little by little, we found out that, yes, they would be very, very interested to take some instructions from us and take measurements and provide citizen science data to us by using this easily performed activities. The best bet and the best response, as we have imagined from the beginning, was with schools. So school involvement is where we have made the most progress up to now. This is a school from Methana, and they let us in their laboratory. This is also helping the filtration, for example. It has to be done very fast after collecting the sample. they have opened up the laboratory. We have a bench there. It's very easy for us. And also we do a demonstration and we show them how to use like the nets to fish out plastics from the water, for example, and then they can use it themselves. Everybody's very enthusiastic, the teachers and the school children. They wanted to stay longer after the school hours and get engaged in all these activities. And then we have built specific instructions for school activities, and this is work in progress. We have sent out this, and schools, different schools in all the islands are going to try them out and then send us their results. Now, in the communication front, how do they send the results to us? We just told them, send them by email. Take a picture of your findings and send them to the project's email. But there are some applications, especially designed from other projects that they can use to upload directly data on platforms. This one, for example, the Andromeda, is for collecting data on microplastics. So the results from this specific activity, they can upload on this platform. What happens next? Okay, let's say that we have collected a set of data. How do we integrate this in a bigger database? We are trying to find our way into the EMODnet. EMODnet is the official European Union platform that collects marine data. Actually, it has data available that you can download and use, but also it has the opportunity and gives the opportunity to different projects that are collecting data to upload on this platform. So we think that this is a very good idea to try and get our data eventually on this platform. Okay, that's all. I hope you were not bored with this. Let's finish with the take-home message. From my experience and for me, I think that this type of doing research, the citizen science, is a powerful approach. For environmental research, it is proven that it works. However, we need to be, of course, careful. So we need to have practices ensuring accuracy and reliability of the data that are collected. In our case, I think we overcome this problem by having these scientific missions. So we are there, we are working with the people, but also we are collecting our data. But the advantage of having the citizen scientists is that our data is just a snapshot of the time that we are there in the place. And this dynamic phenomena can be studied if we have a series of data, a time series of data. So I think that we can achieve better results in this way. Time and resources. When you start a citizen science project, you should dedicate a big amount of resources, time resources for volunteer training and to motivate the participants and maintain their motivation, especially if you try to do a monitoring, like our project is on seawater quality monitoring. Maybe doing these repetitive measurements and you see that not much is changing over time, then maybe people will lose motivation. So you need to invest time to keep them motivated. Of course, you need to be very careful and very sensitive to ethics-related issues. You need to involve as many people as possible. You need to pay special attention with data privacy and security. We have developed a set of all these informed consent forms. We have the university's committee to check that everything is right, everything is in place before we go. And of course, the data management thing and the feedback, how you give feedback to these people, you need to have a very well-designed approach to have reasonable outputs. And the biggest challenge, of course, is the sustainability of this project. This is the basic question for us at the moment. What will happen after the project finishes? So we are just hiring and trying to get as many people involved as possible to create this nexus, this network that will be able to sustain itself after the project finishes. Thank you very much. All these people are people from the partners, people we've been working. We are a whole ecosystem ourselves. This is Andreas Vodikas, the architect. And so now you know what I spend my time with mostly at this particular time, day and night. Thank you very much. Shall I stop sharing? Any questions? Mike Ramsey is raising his hand. Mike, you need to unmute first.
I really enjoyed your presentation. It was a really interesting mixture of the science and the classical science and the citizen science. And I'm involved in the citizen science project myself as a citizen. So I can see it from both sides. But it was interesting. You obviously, the first thing that occurred to me was you said to ensure accuracy and reliability. So do you use normal quality control, duplicate samples, and things of that sort, reference materials?
Yeah, we do this. Yeah.
And then the second question is, have you had any interesting findings yet?
Yes. So in the scientific missions, we have developed these protocols, collection of protocols, because there are lots of different things that have to be measured. And the duplicate method is there.
Good.
Actually, Marios Kostakis is working in this project also, and we've been working together to, we were speaking the same language actually, and it was easier. So we made sure that it is in all the protocols. About the results, so we have done like 2 scientific missions up to now, and now we are getting back the first results from the laboratories. We have measurements on trace elements up to now. The biologists have the first eDNA results back. We haven't put them all together, but we are in process of doing it. And we expect we will need until the end of the year maybe to have something solid and something that makes sense.
That's good. And obviously with the duplicate method, you can measure the uncertainty. And even if the uncertainty is larger with the citizen science, as long as you know how big it is, you've got so much extra data that you can trade off the bigger uncertainty against the larger numbers of observations. So that'd be good.
This is the plan. Yes, this is what I wanted to come across. But this is how we tackle this.
Excellent. Well done.
Alex.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely fascinating, Ariadne. Real, as Michael said, a great mix right across a range of subjects and a range of approaches. What do you intend doing about authorship of your papers from the citizen science? How will you include people in that process?
Well, authorship, I imagine that someone to be an author has to be in the upper level. So that's why we have the 3 different levels of involvement. So if someone gets to be so seriously involved, yes, of course, can be on the authorship. Yeah, there is a specific part of the project devoted to IPR.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Ophelia, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you for this time. It's better.
So yes, so I was telling to Alex that we have this intellectual property rights section of the project devoted to it.
Ah,
And yeah,
oh,
we actually
hello.
have,
Hello, everybody.
have webinars. So we want to make it more open to our students also, and whoever
Yes.
wants can attend. Accustomed to these things.
For our students too, or only for students in the place where, I mean, for everybody?
Some webinars are open, yes, totally open. And we are building also a YouTube channel. So
Yes.
we have the material uploaded there. So
Okay.
yes, I can provide links and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, for people interested. Okay. Checking the chat. I don't see any further questions in the chat.
I think you've been very clear, Ariadne. I congratulate you.
Ariadne, it was very interesting, and I think it's an exciting project. Thank you very much for taking us through all the stages. Nowadays, I'm interested in microplastics. How deep? I mean, you have taken samples from what I see from at depth. Do you find microplastics at depth? And what sort of density?
Do you mean seawater samples?
In the water, yes, seawater, yeah.
Yes, so we have filtered, we have the filters, but they are not checked yet. But I tell you what, we need to be extra careful with this, because there is the possibility of contamination of the sample is unbelievable. So we keep them in a very secure place at the moment. So we haven't checked them yet, but we do collect, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we should close this session. Thank you very much all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariadne.
Thank you very much, Ariadne.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
see you in the next one.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Only a question. Is it 3 o'clock now in London?
4 o'clock.
4
4
o'clock.
o'clock.